Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and welcome to another ENFP Male interview. Today, I get to interview Sasha. So, Sasha, welcome.
Thank you.
So, Sasha, can you give us your full type, please?
Okay, so INTP, double feminine, consume, play, blast, sleep.
Now, when you got your results back, what did you think and how did you feel?
Well, okay, I had always thought I was an ENFP because that's what I had scored. I mean, that's not surprising. I'm sure we're going to cover that, but based on the Myers-Briggs, that's what I always scored. And my husband is more of a standard Myers-Briggs INTP. He's got, I don't know, maybe what I consider to be the standard. He's got the poker face, he's into computers, tech guy. His SI, his sleep is a lot, stronger than mine. So when I got mine, I just, of course I did the whole, I just stared at the results. I started laughing and I thought, okay, is this me? did they get the right person? Because I had always thought, TI was basically my most difficult function. But it looks like I've been using it the whole time. So no, I had, when I first saw it, I was in shock, but after talking with people, doing a little research, especially my type twins helped me understand it. So no, yeah, it makes a lot more sense now.
So it's kind of funny that you were projecting your own type to your husband because there's a INTP, not him, So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I have a joke that I told to him, and for any INTPs who are married, type of thing, like Loki spoiler. So fast forward if you don't, a couple seconds if you don't want to hear. Great. Have you seen Loki? Are you going to see Loki?
I've seen it, yeah.
Okay. You know how Loki kind of fell in love with another version of himself?
Yeah. Yeah.
I said that to my husband. I'm like, I guess we're like Loki, we're two INTPs in love, like Loki fell in love with another version of himself. So
well, has your husband been typed before?
He has just taken the Myers-Briggs test. He actually had to take the test for work also. They considered that to be an important part of work, understanding how everyone kind of functions and to get along and how to communicate. But he's, and maybe again, I'm maybe too close to him to really know for sure. Yeah. I'm trying to kind of convince him to get typed, so we'll see if he can get shaved.
Yeah, I mean that Loki TV show was kind of interesting because I actually don't think the girl Sylvie, I don't think she's a TI actually. She seems like FI because like no spoiler alert for people, fast forward, but like like the decision she made at the end, that wasn't like a rational decision. That was like a decision made out of her emotions, right? Like
I mean, but that could have been her demons, right? That could have been just like, I've had it, bam, right? So who knows? It's really hard to type characters too.
Well, because it felt internal, and then even their last fight, like Loki was like, "Let's think about this first," like Ti, right? And she doesn't want to think about it. She already knows what she wanted to do, and there's no reasoning for her actions. It's just like, I hate this guy. He ruined my life. I'm gonna kill him. Like.
So what type do you think that Loki is? I guess I'd never, he could be an ENFP, he could be an ENTP. I'm not sure. Did you have like a type for Loki? Just kind of curiosity.
I don't know what type he is. I know he's TI for sure. Like all I know for sure is that he's definitely TI. That one is like a given. And you TI and FE in him. A lot of people think he's an ENTP because he's chaotic. He could also be an ISTP because he's very narcissistic and so it doesn't seem to be a double-decider. But it could be like, I don't know, if I were to guess ISTP or ENTP, it's like one of those. Okay. I don't know. It's just a guess. I mean, I don't know. Like,
Well, I know. Again, fictional characters. So
Yeah,
and depending on who's writing them.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, because you could the actor and the character could be different, right? Like Iron Man, for example, is definitely an ENTP, but like the actor is an ENFP, right? So
Yeah.
so yeah. All right, cool. So let's go over your parts then. Let's start with the TI. You have masculine TI. Now that you know you have TI and you've gotten a chance to kind of like think it through. I hope you did though, because you're sleep last. So
Right.
yeah, it's like a weird thing, but I feel that sleep last. But what has
You
your
have sleep last too. You do too, right? You have sleep last too, don't you?
yes, I have sleep last.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would have similar problems as you, but we'll go over that later. Like we'll talk about this. Let's start with TI stuff first. How do you experience TI personally? Like you know.
I guess I just have always very naturally puzzled things out, and very, very much so in everything with life. I guess certain things I can become obsessed with and really try to see all the parts. And it really I've always been somebody who's into animal behaviorism, and I have several interests. I think that's more of the NE kind of like working with the TI, but my TI is single activated. So it's not as strong as somebody who's more of a standard INTP, I guess, who's would be double activated at the top if they use their sleep more. But I feel like I can really see things, use my consume very easily with my TI. I feel like it's as easy as breathing for me to find solutions, find answers to problems. I guess for an example, one of the many careers that I've had is working as a vet assistant slash receptionist at several veterinary clinics, and my own cat got sick. I'm very interested in understanding how veterinary medicine works, and after thousands of dollars of having specialists try to figure out what was wrong with her, and they couldn't, and they kept saying she had this pancreatitis, and I said, I know that's not what it is, and she wasn't getting better, and I said, I think she has cholangiohepatitis, and I got one doctor to believe me, and she said, well, let's treat for that. And as soon as she did, my cat started getting better. So it was just like that. So I feel like and also I kind of feel like knowing that it's there, knowing that it exists is kind of, it's so strange, because I've only known this for the past week, and it's like I've kind of found part of myself that was invisible, but I've been told before that I've got very strong opinions for a female, which come on. And maybe that's the whole thing about females not quite understanding their own TI, because it's more, I think it's probably more of a male expectation, like in society in general. I think it's getting better now, but especially I was born in 1974, so there were so many things wrong growing up in the 1980s. You're just but I definitely was able to find my creative side with I know a lot of my type twins are very like dramatic. I'm going on and on. I apologize, but yeah, that's my TI, I guess.
It's okay. Your sleep last, and one of the problems with sleep last is they don't have any breaks when they start like explaining things. So it's all good. They can go on forever. But the good thing is at least you're info dominant. So at least even if you're talking forever, people can follow you. So there's a perk to it, so to say.
What a weird combination. Yeah.
Yeah. So just a few thoughts from what you said. first off, I think, yeah, even though you grew up in like a messed up time period where it's like not, what do you call it, where they're more like sexist and like they have like beliefs that are pretty illogical.
Yeah, boys play with trucks, girls play with dolls. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's not like that anymore, but I think that what it's good for women that are lead TI because then they learn to use their FE. So in a way, it's actually not a bad thing. It's like you were forced to use your demon and now you know how to use it. So you have a, so it's not like a bad thing. It's worse for, I think, for the people that like let's say you're a man and you are a savior feeler and then they're forcing you to be a thinker. I mean, okay, I guess that's also good because then you have to use your thinking. Yeah, yeah.
But then in both cases, you feel like there's something wrong with you. You know, you feel like your lead function is a flaw. You know, and really now knowing that it's not necessarily a flaw is it's such a relief.
Well, it is a flaw because like because you do abuse your first function anyway. So if
it's like crack, it is consume play. It's just crack.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I mean, I like how you went straight to the decider talk right away too. So I mean, clearly you're definitely a decider. Like you're like, oh, people, women, and like I'm like, I wonder if like an ENTP would have thought the same thing. They're probably like, what? I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking about how controlling my boss is. Like so like.
That's funny. Yeah, this whole time I'm like, okay, well, I have trouble with my computer. So I must be
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what they're thinking. Yeah. Like I can't get my password because I forgot it because I'm feminine SI or something. Like I don't know. Like
I always called myself an ENFP who was a social phobe. I said I must have the social phobia ENFP. I'm different than that. No, I understand now. It's my, double activated demon FE. And it's nice. It's nice when I feel that feeling now of that type of nervousness and just being like, okay, this is something that I'm going to work with instead of just saying, no, it's a, you know what I mean? It's better to understand it.
There's some stuff you said earlier that I wanted to bring back up, but I'll loop back to it because something you just said right now kind of caught my interest. So I wanted to ask you some question about it and then I'll loop back. So the question I have for you is, I noticed that like I have a lot of like INTPs tend to be like one of the personality types that I make friends with. I think it's because of the NT and my NT. It's like natural. We're speaking the same language, even though it's TE for me and TI. It's still kind of like similar because it's still NT, right? So we're both trying to solve a problem essentially. Like when I met Dave and Shan, I brought my friend who's an INTP and they did type him as an INTP also. I'm like, okay, yeah, well, yeah, he's obviously an INTP, and he started telling him like messed up jokes and he loved it. And like, now the one thing I noticed about INTPs that I think is quite weird, or not weird, but maybe it's accurate. It's like you don't want to socialize in like a big group. You want to do a one-on-one, but you do get in a big group and you're like having more fun than everyone else, but you're not even aware you're having fun because the FE is in the bottom. Like talk about your emotional awareness, like because the TI is a liar. I think it's a liar function because it'll tell you like things that you think is the truth, but then the FE actually reveals the truth, which is like, oh, I'm having so much fun in a group setting. Oh my god, like like, and then you're thinking, oh, I hate this, but like it's not good. But
that's a really interesting thing to say because I remember when I was an I'll get to that definitely. When I was an ENFP and I was talking to when I started getting into all of the function stuff. What is that guy's name? Is it Joseph something or other? He's kind of popular. I don't listen to him anymore. I mean, if anybody like, what is his name?
Yes, Joseph, Chase Joseph.
Yes. And he was saying that ENFPs are big liars and everything like that. And I said, no, the truth matters more to me than anything. And I'm an ENFP, I was like, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, then you must be an ENTP because FI doesn't care about the truth. And I was like, that's not true, blah, 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 and it's, how dare you, I'm exaggerating my reaction, but you know what I mean? That, That's interesting that you said the NT is lying to you. You
Yeah.
know, but I understand what you mean in this context, because that's true, because you feel like you're alone. You feel like you don't necessarily need the tribe, you know, as long as they work with your ideas, you don't need them for, you know, anything social. So yeah, I get that. No, but I think for me, being high play, double activated NEFE play, I tend to enjoy, you know, being around a group. But what I've always done, I actually like to have several people around, even as long as there's not too much like insanity where you can't move and you feel stuck. I like to go from group to group to group and just, you know, joke around, say a few things, and then be able to escape to the next group. Because sometimes if you're with just a few people and you're not having an engaging conversation, you know, if you're talking about something that maybe not, you know, touches on.
If someone's talking with SF instead of NT, and then you don't know what they're saying because you think they're being dense and shallow, but actually you just don't understand the language.
And it's only very recently where I've grown to really have a deep appreciation of what SF is. But yes.
Yeah.
So I used to skip all around and have that kind of freedom there. But I feel like I'm really, as a high play sleep last, I'm really trying to focus, and you can't tell right here, but on my listening skills. So, and just really, you know, taking in and trying to sleep process how I feel about what the person is saying before I respond. So.
I want to loop back to the other thing that you mentioned earlier about like you said it was TI, but you were really talking about NT, like puzzle solving. So I thought it was interesting. You said that your cat had some issues and no doctor could diagnose what the problem is until you had to do your own research to figure out what the problem was, and then you told the doctor, which is cool that you have the blast to tell them. So you know it's a good thing that you are info dominant, and because you able to convince the vet that your cat had this specific issue, that they were able to fix the problem, and it was all because of your research. So it sounds like you're solving problems through gathering, through research. And I'm also lead NT, and I was thinking about what you said. I'm like, oh geez, do I do that too? Like, am I doing what you're doing? I have play though, so I would bug people for the solution while you would research.
Well, that's what you're doing, I think, with your channel. You know, you're doing your research and you're finding the answers and enlightening everybody through your channel. So
Well, because I've had an interview before too, and I was like, how come no one can figure it out? They're giving me like the generic solution, but I don't think the generic solution is the solution. I think they're just being lazy. They don't want to do like a deep dive on the research on what the actual root cause of the problem is. Because you can temporarily fix a problem and make the symptoms go away for like a few days, but then it'll come back, right?
they'll come back, and you could be making things worse because that solution may be causing other problems if it's not, fixing the actual cause, the root. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Right. I mean, for me, I'm like so obsessed with it. Like I had an injury with my lower back and I got like 2 MRI scans and I saw RMT, chiro, physio, and like by going to all these places, I've been able to gather. I'm using play to gather, obviously, to piece together like what is the actual problem going on. And now the more I deep dive into it, I'm like finding the root cause. So my symptom is not as bad as before, but it's not fixed yet. So I'm like working on it. But I think like I was like, oh my God, like people with NT like you and me, I'm like, geez, we're like obsessed with like solving like a problem. And I noticed that people with no NT, they don't even try to solve their problem, or they'll like wallow in their sorrow and their misery. And I'm like, why don't you try to fix the problem? Why don't you try to solve it? And they're like, I never thought about that.
It's so funny because, there's a thing on, social media that says, well, when you have a problem, all I want you to do is listen. Don't try to fix it. And I'm like, no. let's try to fix this and let's try to fix it together.
Yeah. Well, I get what you're saying because you're FE last. So for you, it's like, nah, feelings, eh. But for me, the emotion is part of the puzzle. It's like part of it's a clue. I'm like, oh, you're feeling this way. Okay. Let's like deep dive into your emotion then, and let's see what's happening. So yeah, so
And
um,
that's something I have to work on. That is something I have to work on. Yes.
yes. In the flip side, you would be better at problem solving the thing problem though. Like, like when it comes to like an object. So, the double observer would come into play in that situation. I want to go back to your consume again though. Your consume is double masculine and T-consume. So it's not just like a regular anti-consume, it's double masculine. So it's gonna be the most aggressive. It's also your first animal. So it's like, and yeah. So talk about double masculine and T-consume. Like how confident are you with what you've researched that,
Oh, wow, yeah.
and how aggressive are you at researching?
Yeah. So okay. So, and kind of going into it too, I mean, having such a weak SI, it basically might as well be last, it's so such a sad little tertiary function. But, so, I really depend on my, my research and, getting it out there right away. I really learned to write things down, but yeah, I get very excited about it. And I like to play right away with everybody and tell everybody, like, almost like it's the most important thing in the world and everybody has to know. But after a while, I kind of realize, hey, there might be other solutions. Obviously, everybody's different, and this research doesn't always apply, to this specific thing. But it's really good with helping finding connections to everything. Like for example, one of my goals in life is to help the animals, like all animals, and I like to call myself a vegan, vegan. So I'm a vegan who eats honey. So that's just a dumb play on words. And so, that's one of the ways I was really into veganism when I first started, but I realized that it's not perfect for everybody. And, now I'm into reducitarianism. So, people can cut down their meat, your animal byproducts and things like that. Go for it. I'm more into kind of working with people. So that kind of goes down. Also kind of seeing the connections between the wildlife outside and then also the native plant life, and how people's yards itself are, affecting the existence of the wildlife outside, from any sort of like the types of bugs and how they work together. Even the fungus under the ground. You have the, mycorrhizal networks with the root system and the fungus working all together, and what we put into the soil affects that. So really just focusing on the types of plants you're allowing to grow versus the types of plants, that you're planting, and just creating a perfect ecosystem can create something beautiful for the animals. So there's so much in it. I could go on and on and on, obviously, but I guess, just, and trying not to just force my information on other people, because I used to think, oh, I found the solution, everybody needs to know it, and I'm going to tell them all right now, and they're all just going to be amazed, and there's crickets. So I'm like, okay. But I really like to communicate, when I did work at veterinary clinics and I had to talk to the clients about the patients and conveying the information, and they would come with ideas that would be bad for their pet, or so forth, and I would basically tell them, no, that's just all wrong. I did it in such a friendly way that one of my colleagues said, you can tell people that they're absolutely wrong and they're stupid. Now, I never called them stupid. That wasn't me, everybody. That they're stupid, but you can do it and make them feel like they're, that you just gave them a hug and that they're a wonderful person, and here's, the keys to a better life. And I'm like, that's a really funny thing to say. I don't I've never had somebody, say that. So I guess that's how my FE works together with my TI in that way. How that was a mouthful. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I like how you channel change too. And yeah.
It's painful.
I'm interviewing so many channel changers this week.
I watched your thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna focus. Okay, yeah.
No, it's okay. You can't help it. I mean, I can't help it either. I just want,
Right.
I get it. It's completely fine.
Right.
Yeah, we're both channel changers, so it's okay. Like, I'll channel change right now. Like when you were talking about like the fungus growing in the ground, I started thinking, I'm like, oh my God, I need to read that book, Mycelium Running. Like, I haven't read that one yet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I heard it's a good one because I don't know if you've heard about that guy who.
So tell me his name again.
Paul Stamets, I think is his name, something like that. Like he was on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about like mushrooms and how like humans evolve from like the way that humans like I think his name is Paul Stamets. I'm not 100% sure on that. Stamets is definitely his last name.
Oh, I understand. I'll look him up. Okay.
Yeah, his last name's I mean his book is called Mycelium Running, and he like talks about like how like I was watching a Joe Rogan podcast and he said that humans ate the mushrooms and it made them more brave. And because the mushroom made them more brave, because like the mushroom alters your brain or something and like makes you take more risks or something, that the humans decided to venture off like the original place where we humans came from, like Africa, and like started going to all over the place. So without the mushrooms, we would have never taken the risk to colonize the whole planet. And like yeah, and then he said like the mushroom is like the best for building your immune system, and he has studies behind it. And apparently the US military even purchases mushroom supplements so that they don't get sick. And I started taking the mushroom supplement after I saw that, and I never got sick. Like I never got sick again after. Like I would get to the point where I would like almost get sick, but I would always win. I would never get full on sick. Like the worst I would get is a cold. Like I'm like, Jesus, like I used to get sick every year and now I can stop getting sick taking this like damn mushroom. So I'm like, I need to read this book.
You're in the fitness and health industry too.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, that's why I got sick, because I work in a gym and everyone's spraying their bacteria and virus everywhere, right? And then yeah, so like when I start taking this, like I stop getting sick. I'm like, oh geez, this thing's bullshit. It's like it actually is. It does actually work, And if you look at Tim Ferriss's book, I don't know if you follow Tim Ferriss, but like, I forgot which book it was. I don't know if it's Tools of Titan or Tribe of Mentors. And one of the things that he said in the book was like, someone said that, how do you stop getting sick when you travel? Like you're on a plane and stuff. And the guy just said, oh yeah, I take this mushroom supplement by this Paul Stamets guy,
Are you serious?
Yeah, and he stops getting
motion sickness.
What's that?
Does it help motion sickness too?
No. It's just like, you don't get the virus from the.
No. Oh, okay. I thought it also. Okay, gotcha.
No, not from the motion of the airplane. I think I don't know. Like motion sickness, I think hard candy is the best way to like sucking on a hard candy is a good way to. Yeah, because I went backpacking a lot, and I remember taking like the long bus rides where the bus would be going through windy roads, and I would get like I feel like I would puke and stuff. And then I started eating the hard candy, and I'm like, oh, it didn't stop it from happening, but it like significantly lowered it, so it's tolerable. Like I'm okay. Like I can get to my destination without puking. So it's.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, hard candy. Yeah, just.
I've had that crystallized ginger candy. That's helped me somewhat, but I'll have to try just the regular hard candy though too.
Yeah, there you go. So we went off tangent. Let's go with NF-Play now. This is your second animal, and you are double activated NF-Play. Like so, you are like this is gonna be, even though you're consumed first, your default is almost gonna be your play, which is gonna be interesting, which is good for IPs actually, because then you keep up with friendships, so that's a good thing. So talk about having double activated NF-Play. So it's very hippie-ish. It's about purpose, meaning, passion. What's the point? Like, how do you use it? How do you relate to it? How do you experience it?
Oh yeah. Well, basically, How do I use it and experience it? I mean, I kind of feel like not seeing my TI and just being able to see my really strong NE kind of forever. No, I love to just, joke back and forth, with anybody who will do it. Now, the problem, I think, is sometimes I accidentally insult the people randomly with it that I'm actually really surprised that I do. I think it's because I don't know. I tend to have kind of a dark humor that I don't know if that's an NT thing or if it's just me or, if who tends to have that. But my husband kind of has a dark humor too. So we're definitely good, kind of pinging that off each other, even though I think he might have play last, but I can bring it out of him or release third. So I'll take, certain things and just throw it out at people. And I can do that, and I can tell just the worst puns you've ever heard in your life,
Like what?
just
I want to hear that.
oh man, that's terrible because I also have probably the worst memory.
Okay, never mind.
Oh wow. I should have written some down. Oh my gosh. So okay, here's a really bad one. So we regulate how much alcohol that we drink at my house to once a week. And we I've taken to just naming, like, if we decide to drink on a Wednesday, I've named it Wines Day, and Thursday is Thirst Day, and that's probably my worst one. And it's like so funny because it's such a bad it's like the worst joke in the planet.
Yeah.
Like, it's Thirst Day, so no, then we'll be able to drink. And that's, I think, also too, I remember watching one of your videos about somebody who was sleep last and who was taking, I can't remember, to be honest, I can't remember who it was and what he was taking, but he was taking something that was because he was sleep last in order to relax. And he ended up going into hospital, I think. Does that sound familiar to you at all?
I don't know. I interviewed a lot of people, so I don't.
You do. No, but this was a famous person you were talking about.
I interviewed the famous. I used the famous person.
You mentioned him in one of your.
So the person was trying to relax, and they went to the hospital.
Well, they were taking some sort of medication, and I don't think it, in order, because they were sleep last, in order to get them to relax. But
Xanax.
What is it? Xanax. It was a cross between Xanax and something else. Yeah.
Benadryl. Benylin. I don't know. Like one of those. One of those like.
But I feel like it would be easy to do that with alcohol too, if for sleep last people. You know, and so that's why I really try to make sure to regulate everything, and I regulate my caffeine. Only a little bit in the morning. That's it. Because things like that can really get you, in the end, as far as your anxiety, or as far as, just being, I don't know if sleep lasts have addictive personalities. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but, I know that would be something that would be really easy for somebody who just goes and goes and goes and goes, to have to feel like they would need something to just, okay, I just need to relax now and process. So yeah, just to kind of mentally say, I'm not going to do that, and try to work with that.
I feel like, from my experience, the people that abuse narcotics or some sort of substance to help with relaxing or getting energy tends to be energy dominant people. Yeah, because they are more aware of their energy, so they know when they need like a boost or when they need to tone it down. But like if you're info dominant, you're not thinking about energy as much, so you're thinking about the information. So
Yes.
A lot of times you don't know what you're feeling. I mean, not at the moment, at least, unless you practice, obviously. I mean, if you practice, then you could definitely figure it out. So yeah.
Do you ever have like an emotion that happens and you're like, where did that come? Where did that come from? Why am I feeling this? And you have to kind of think it out.
Well, I do have to think of my feelings like you do, because I am NT before feeling, but I don't have FE, I have FI. So when I do have the feelings, like I'm kind of aware of what caused it. It's usually my fault. Like it was something that I spurned. Like even if it's even when someone was being mean to me or something, I know it's my fault because I'm not SF. You know, people are not mean to you when you're SF. Actually, that's what I noticed. Because like I had a period in my life where I went all into SF. Like I was in college and I remember I got rejected by a girl that I really like, and I freaked out, and I was like, okay, you know what? It's my fault because I'm weak and I have not upgraded myself. I'm always doing things for other people. So you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna go all in myself this time. So I went to the gym. I started working out really hard. I got really fit. I started dressing really nice. I started throwing house parties. You know, I started just going in all like the SF game, right? And I was shocked. Like I was really shocked. I actually almost like hated the truth of SF. And like the truth that I found out was that it doesn't matter how much you know. If you look a certain way, people take you more seriously, and your information becomes more real than if you actually know the real information, which actually is really messed up. So
yeah, you can use your appearance as a tool. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people follow like lead SF people who absolutely have no freaking clue what they're talking about. They're like, no offense, but a lot of them are clueless. You know, not all of them, but there's a lot of them. So if you're watching this, you're SF, then yeah, it's clueless. And I'm not apologizing. Fuck you. Anyways, like, anyways, I'm a double decider. I can get away with it. But no, but the good thing about SF though, and I do think that those SF people, they're not aware of this, but the good thing about that is like they don't get disrespected as much. The only one that disrespect them are like the NT people like me, who I just did it, like as you can see during this a second ago. But so maybe like when they go home, they feel like insecure now about their intelligence because they were expected about their knowledge. But in public, you don't get that public like hazing, at least, so I feel like you do need to respect all the parts, otherwise you know you're not gonna get taken seriously. Your information, like you can't create as much impact as you want. Even if you want to be left alone, so being SF, you get left alone more actually, because like people respect you and they just leave you alone, right? Like so um, like SF does come first. Like you need to have SF first. Like that definitely is.
Right. Yeah. And that, I mean, that can branch out to a lot of different things, obviously. But yeah, if you're going to, I mean, how you physically appear, and that could have a lot to do with health too. So that people might be able to see, hey, this person takes care of themselves. So, in a way, that's a type of intelligence, to be able to physically take care of yourself and know what, to do. But people can obviously take that too far. You can look healthy, but not actually be, healthy. You could not get enough nutrients and be like a rail,
Yeah.
So, things like that. But I know like too, like presentations, how you present. I remember when I had a comic strip when I was in college, and I was just presenting my ideas, my drawings and my ideas. And my boyfriend at the time was taking graphic design courses, and he's like, you have to present it with, in this way, otherwise they're not even going to look at it.
Right.
In the SF way. And so I did, and then I got hired,
Nice.
and so yeah, it's the exact same ideas, exact same comics presented in a completely SF way. And they're like, yes, you. So, but I got my ideas to get across that way.
Well, since we're in the topic of SF, let's go over your SF. Your SF is blast, and your SF is double feminine. So it's going to be very, the way I see double feminine functions in animal is this. It's like, it's insecure, it's movable, but it's also inviting. and it's also flexible. So it has like pros and cons to it, like so even though it's not as confident and it's more insecure, and the memory is worse, the good thing is like it's very inviting. So people that are double feminine tend to be like very inviting, so they tend to attract more people. And because the fact that they see people as friendly, it's like, oh yeah, it's like they don't see people as threatening, so it's more okay. Which I'll actually ask you about that later on, because that's an interesting thing to think about, because you're like an IP, so you're scared of people, but you're feminine with a type, so you see them as friendly also. So it's like, what the hell?
Isn't that weird? Yes.
I was like, what the hell is going on? It's like an IJ who's a tester, and it's like wants to experiment with things. I'm like, what? You don't like the new, but you want to try the new? Like, what the hell? So
yes. Yeah.
So I'm fascinated by the paradox, but so
right, it's like you're fighting with yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go with that first. So you're an IP, you're double feminine. Because you're feminine with the tribe, you see them as friendly, but then you're scared of people because you're an IP. Like, what's going on there? Like, is there like can you give me like scenarios when like they can both coexist? I don't know.
Yeah, and I actually thought I was double masculine.
I mean, your first two function is double masculine, so it makes sense. So you think that.
And I guess it's because I guess it goes back to, when I'm at a party, as long as I have an escape route, I feel very comfortable, with people, a bunch of people. But, I guess it's the same. It depends. If I'm working with a group of people that I really click with, I don't mind being around them, 8+ hours a day. But you can certainly feel trapped, being with a group of people that, you have friction with. And I feel like, in that case, I would, I guess, use my double feminine FF blast to kind of, I'm almost kind of saying I'm puzzling it out, but to kind of, oh wow, no, that's my play. I'm a little bit I'm a little bit confused on the SF blast, to be honest. I've been trying to think about it. I know that I can be blasty, and when I kind of get lectury and blasty, I do it in a way that is like, you understand, do you get it? Do you have any feedback? Things like that. But when I'm helping a bunch of people, and it's kind of like just for little bits at a time, and I'm like, okay, I only have to deal with this person for this long. I only have to deal with this person for this long. I only have to deal with this person for this long. It can kind of, roll off my shoulders like not a big deal. I think it's more like, what are we talking about? What is the topic? How serious is it? Because if it's something that involves, the life and death of your pet, that can really get to me. If it's something that, and I have no problem going up to people and telling them, hey, this is what's going on. This is what needs to happen. But I'll do it in kind of like a, hey, do you get it? And it's funny because what's in my head is this very serious person that is like, well, we need to blah, 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 blah. But then what comes out of my mouth is this kind of like goofy, hey, we need to do this,
Right.
But I think that people tend to be less, combative and more receptive to the information if it's presented that way. So maybe that's what the double feminine blast is just, not being combative. I mean, I can confront people all the time, and say, for example, somebody has left their dog in a car, it's a hot day. I'm the one who will go find them and say, hey, let's get your dog out of the car. Because your dog's gonna maybe die.
Right.
And here are the reasons why. Okay, let's go fast, you know, and I know you love your dog, and I know you do, and I know you would never do anything to hurt your dog, but maybe you just didn't know this information. Okay, you're great, your dog's great, and all right, your dog feels much better now that he's out of the car. So maybe that's kind of, I don't know.
I think
That's why I thought I was masculine TE, because I was always like going up to people and just doing that. So.
well, from what I've noticed that people with SF blast, what they do is like it's like controlling the tribe, but like to make them feel comfortable. Like let's say someone comes over your house and then you tell them, hey, sit on this chair, have this tea, it's very nice and lovely, you know, and like have some cookies with your tea. So you're like you're like telling them how to feel good, you know. It's also like etiquette. So like the person that would be like a Nazi when it comes to like dining table etiquette would be like an SF blaster. Could, you know, they'll be like, okay, you know, you need to eat with this utensil first before this next set of utensil, and you need to sit up straight, you can't slouch, and you know you need to have this outfit for like a proper dinner party. So they'll be the one that's controlling you what's like appropriate.
Maybe my SF blast is like the anti-appropriate.
Yeah.
I think I like to laugh at all that.
Yeah, I mean it could be because it's like double feminine and it's a demon, right? So I'm pretty sure you're using some of it though, because like I you know you have a third, so you would be able to teach people on what is cool, or at least share people what is cool, and you'd be able to tell people how to make themselves look nicer, or how to make something look nicer, more aesthetically pleasing. So you would be able to, at least in that sense, communicate some of that, right?
Yeah.
It's not last, so you'll have some of it.
Oh, right. I like to trim my husband's beard. I think I can see certain things. I cut, well, I've been cutting my own hair and doing my own hair ever since the pandemic. So I cut my son's hair. I generally try to, yeah, okay, here I go. I have this whole like kind of, all right, these are the vitamins we should take. Here's our regimen. And
there you go. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
you're doing it.
But I also am very like, you like, don't worry about what's in style. If this is something that you like, but I'm also about like, how ethical things are. So let's make it fair trade. Let's make it, so that these workers get paid and there's no.
Well, you're still an NF hippie, right? Like you're double activated NF hippie. So yeah, that it would make sense that you would say those things.
Yeah.
Let's go over your last animal, ST sleep. So it's like they call it block banging, but pretty much you're trying to get things done for yourself, or do work for yourself, or and it's because it's in a sleep position. It's gonna be very personal. Like when you do get to that point, you don't want anyone to help you. You rather do it yourself. Although I did an interview with a panel of people that has the same functions as you, and I noticed that the order stack does matter. Like when you have it last, you don't mind getting more help than someone had it like first or second. So let's start with that, and then I'll have follow-up questions on the ST sleep stuff. So how do you treat work? Like
yeah, so right now I'm actually, a lot of my time is being spent writing a book, and my husband is actually really he's so excited about it. I was an English major, so, and I used to be an editor, copy editor, I've done other things too. So, but this is my first time that I'm actually writing a book. And and the reason is because it's very difficult for me to finish anything on my own. So I am trying very, very hard to use sleep and, ST sleep, get the facts to kind of fill in my, analogies in my book. And it's taken me a long time. But I want to make sure that it's done in a way that, everything connects kind of correctly. It's a fiction book, but the only thing is that my husband has agreed to, because of my play, and I didn't know that this is why, but after every kind of chapter, he reads it and gives me feedback, because I can't. And you know what is very hilarious about that is, after I found out my type, and my type twin, one of my type twins being Judy Greer, when she wrote her book, she said the exact same thing almost about when she wrote her book, that her husband, she would constantly ask for his feedback in order to finish it. But I, even just to do the chapters, I'm really focusing in on my sleep, and then collecting facts, how to apply them into the book. It's really a challenge, and I'm actually really digging it. It's really difficult for me, but it's really satisfying.
That's good that you are working on your ST sleep now. The next part of ST sleep is your body. I interviewed someone and he said that ST sleep is having a body that works. So, you know, things are working, you know, you can use your body, and, you know, you can walk properly, your shoulder works, you know, you have full range of motion, whatever. How often are you taking care of your body? Like, do you go see the dentist, the doctor, RMT, physiotherapist, like to make sure that, you know, like I like to make fun of TI people. Like, I say you guys are robots, and you're gonna bring your body into the shop to get the oil change, the repairs.
I've used that analogy too.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so like, how often are you doing like the maintenance work for your body to make sure that, you know, it's operating at optimal level? I have to use those words because that's.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you. Well, when I was in my 20s, it was like not until I absolutely needed to, you know, and I could feel it, you know. Of course, I threw my back out, and you know, that's when you have, when I was in my 20s, and let's when you have like super stress and you're not paying attention. I even remember saying, that's, you know, when I first went vegan, and somebody asked me, are you making sure you're doing it in a healthy way? And I said, I don't care. And they said, that's not good. That's not good. I'm like, I care about, you know, the animals. I don't care about my own health. I'm fine. And it's just kind of like, wait a minute, back up. I've learned that does matter, obviously, because the more that you break yourself, you know, the harder time you're going to have functioning, and the harder time it is for everybody around you. So no, now, and also I've pushed myself to the point where, you know, if I like scrape myself up or whatever, I just keep going and going and going, and then maybe treat it later. Well, of course, you know, at one point, that has caused cellulitis all the way down my leg, and I had to go to the hospital. So when you learn the hard way, and maybe that's being part tester too, I think I'm part tester. When you learn the hard way, it sticks. And now I'm to the point where if I cut myself, take care of it. If I have a question, my doctor knows me. I'm like, is it this? But you know, I'm still trying to be extremely respectful of her time. You know, but I try to exercise. Every so often I, you know, kind of fall off, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't. Yes, it matters. Yes, it matters. I have to keep kind of telling myself, you know, I do go to the doctor. You know, it took me forever to go back to the dentist, and now I schedule appointments. Of course, the pandemic didn't help, but you know, now I've got regularly scheduled appointments. And you see, you know, your family, you know, get sick, and you realize, no, this is, you know, your extended family, especially when they get older, and you realize how important it is, because a lot of it is genetic. So yeah, at this point, being 47, I think I've come to the point where that part of my sleep I take very seriously. I may do certain things in an orthodox manner. You know, when I take the dogs for a walk, I wear this crazy big hat. I'm sure I look like a crazy person, but I don't care. You know, just to kind of keep the sun off of me, you know, things like that. I guess I'm prattling on, but yeah, that's yes, I do try.
Well, it sounds like a typical sleep class story, you know, learning the hard way. You know, that
Yeah.
seems to be like you have to force like life to hit the brakes on you by injuring you so that you could stop.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and it's throughout, because when I was younger, it was like, oh, I wonder what this is going to do, and just kind of like, oh, let me take a look at this, let me look at this, what's this, and burning your hand or whatever. Seeing my parents eat a whole thing of ice cream, oh, I can do that.
Oh my
Getting
God.
sick. Yeah, oh my gosh. I actually ended up in the hospital twice when I was a kid, just from eating just incredibly badly. So
You went to the hospital from eating ice cream? That is extreme.
just eating the worst things ever,
You make the observers look good, actually. Like there's a lot of observer issues there.
Oh gosh, yes. So, but yeah, it's important. Everything you do, everything that's physical around you. I used to think that, the physical didn't matter as much. And that, I could deal with anything, no matter what was around me, but I realize it's all a part of it now. And yeah.
I'll ask you some question about being a tester, because you brought up some tester stuff there just now. But I find it fascinating that in life will make you do all 4 of your animals and all 4 of your functions, whether you like it or not. And you either schedule in your time to do it, and not have it come to you and smack in the face, or not schedule it in and have it smack in your face. So you can make the decision, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah, because at some point you do have to address it, and if you don't address it, you'll probably you'll know like right away. That's like right now my biggest problem is SF, right? Like not the emotional processing part. I do that, and like when it comes to like body awareness, I'm aware of that too. But it's like the SF itself. Like I remember when Dave typed me, he sent me some videos of like, here, watch all the stupid people do dumb shit. Like learn how to SF. I'm like, so I need to like dumb myself down and just do fun. It's fun though. It's not just dumb. It's dumb and fun. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, dumb and fun. Like learn how to do dumb fun shit. And he sent me a bunch of videos of like people doing dumb shit. Right. I'm like, okay. I'm like, like my brain's rot. My brain is rotting. And like, but I guess that's what I have to do. Like I guess, and obviously, dress nicer, do my hair. I'm not doing it. I need to do it more often. And like, yeah. And so I'm like, stupid SF. I'm like, so like, there's always gonna be like an aspect of something that you need to address. Cause like, you look at like one part of your animal, and you might be doing 1 or 2 aspects of it. But I notice now like every animal has probably like 4 dimensions to it. And you need to address all 4 dimensions, because like not everyone's probably gonna be doing like 1 of the 4 dimension of their animal, right?
Oh, interesting.
Like there's like
Yeah.
there's like the basic dimension, right? Like let's say sleep. Like what is sleep? Okay, the first part of sleep is preserving your energy, right? So that's like the one of the layer. Then the other layer is setting boundaries with people, right? So that's another layer, right? Because like that's the opposite of play. Play is like spending time with people, and then sleep would be like, nope, go away, people. It's for me now, right? So that's setting boundaries essentially. But then the other 2 dimension is like specific to your type, right? So for you, it's SITI. So like the 2 other dimension of that would be like having a body that works essentially. Like, are you make sure that your body is in tip-top shape, right? So that's like the first part. The second part would be the personal side of getting things done, like creating something in reality, like a prototype, for example. But it's personal, right? So that's like another dimension of it. So are you doing that part? Because if you look at Elon Musk, he's doing it everywhere. Like Tesla, SpaceX, like everything that he's doing is like a real life prototype of his ideas, right? Like the tunnel that he's making in Los Angeles, like everything is like a prototype, right? So you can see someone with like high sleep, actually create a lot of tangible things, like Bill Gates, for example, Microsoft, Windows, and whatnot. And now he's doing more philanthropy stuff, building stuff for African people, trying to cure diseases, so it's more like practical stuff that's tangible. So like you have to like, and every animal has like those dimensions, right? So usually with saviors, you're doing all the dimensions. That's not a problem, right? Like your first 2 animals, like everything, all bases are covered. your third animal, maybe you're doing like 3 out of 4, which is like good enough probably, you know. Because everyone at some point in their life can use their third animal. Like even so demon, they call it the hobby one, but at some
Yeah.
point you'll have like you'll be able to use it. That's not a problem, you know. Your second and third animals can be the most balanced one, right? Like for you, it's plain blast. Like you're gonna be like pretty good with plain blast, or even consume and blast, you're okay. Like you're info dominant, right? So you'll like take in information and you'll blast it out with information. So that's not gonna be your biggest life problem. Your biggest life problem will be your ST sleep with like, you know, health, which you already talked about going to the hospital with the ice cream thing. Yeah, like you know, like and you're writing a book now, which is good. You're like, you know, using the SI and the TI to like document stuff. So that's good. That's like your work, creating something tangible now. Setting boundaries. Okay, I think for IPs they don't need to set boundaries because you already have too much boundaries to begin with. So I think that actually benefits you to be sleepless. And then like what's the other dimension? Oh yeah, preserving energy. So that's something you probably need to work on as well. Like, you know, yeah, like so for me, I'm looking at all the dimension. The dimension I'm not doing is the SF, like the cool stuff, you know. And preserving the energy, I'm doing a little bit of it. So it's 50% there, I think. Emotional processing, I think it's maybe that's probably the strongest part of it, probably like 75% or 100% of it. Like I'm pretty aware with my feelings. But yeah, the SF is a big problem. Taking care of my body, that's a big problem. So I'm not doing that part too, you know. For me, it's to feel good. For you, it's to be functional, right? So there's like that difference.
Okay. Because I know that you even teach exercise classes. So
Yeah. So the exercise is not my problem. It's my nutrition because I like to eat bad food. Like you. You know, I've never been to the hospital for eating ice cream though. So I like to say you're more extreme than me. So I'm like, okay.
I used to be when I was a kid. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I don't know that. I don't see you. Like you're after this, you're like,
I do have a hard time saying no to certain candy and stuff like that. But
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of similarities between ours because we have SI, right? So it's still the physical, but then yours like, is things working properly? Because when you go to the hospital, it's not working properly anymore. But for me,
Right.
it's like it's more like the feeling. Like, do I feel good? Does my shoulder feel right? You know, does my knee feel right? Does my neck feel right? You know, like you know, do I feel tired? Like, did I get enough sleep? You know, it's like the actual emotion behind it, right? Or so there's like a slight difference. For you, it's more functional. Like, because if you can't, if you're not working, if a part's broken, then you can't do anything, right? And the ST is all about getting things done. You know, so you know,
Yes. And that's very frustrating. Yes.
so this ties into the last question that I have, or last two questions. So I have two more questions for you. We'll wrap the interview. Okay. So I'll use myself as an example. So because I'm SF inside, deep down inside, what I really want to be is popular. That's why I have a YouTube channel, because like that's my innermost desire, is to be popular and cool. You know, and
I
so
think cool.
thank you, appreciate that. And so whatever, so it seems like whatever's inside you is like what it's like. It's not your identity per se, because I think you are all your parts,
Right.
but it's like your deep core desire, essentially, you could say. Okay, so even though it's not completely you, it's your deep core desire. So for you, your deep core desire would be ST. Like you are a block banger inside. You are someone that creates inventions, you know, and creates prototypes and produces things out of the experiments that you've done, right? Talk about that. Like, talk about like, have you ever felt that way? Like you want to be the inventor, the person.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And the thing is that so that is constantly, you know, I'm constantly fighting with myself about that. I find that most scientists have a tendency to maybe go too far and skirt on, if not past the unethical mark with what they're doing. I've always been really interested in you know, sociological experiments. You know, I've read all about them. You know, things like that. I would love to do, you know, more of the physical you know, experiments as well. I wanted to be a behaviorist as well when I was a kid. I thought of all of these experiments that I could try. You know, even to prove whether or not determinism exists, you know. you know, is to have like these to clone this person and have, you know, this embryo and have them be in these two separate test tubes and then these two separate rooms and then have the exact same situations presented to them at the exact same times, at temperature, everything, and then see if they react the same way. I'm like, but that's crazy. Like, that's the craziest. And you know, I really think that I could definitely, you know, I kind of joked about this when I was a, you know, like a teenager. I'm like, I think in my past life I was one of the scientists that sunk, you know, Atlantis. No.
Yeah.
You know, just with all of our crazy like testing and you know, inventions and things like that. So I think the problem is that, you know, in order to be say for example a behaviorist, you have to lock animals in cages and you know, monitor them that way. And well, at least that was the way that the protocol was, you know, when I was growing up. And or you know, to do this type of test, you need to, I guess that being responsible for the results, like the Jurassic Park results of the whatever invention, you know, letting the dinosaurs escape into the, you know, mainland or whatever, you know, or just, you know, I think has always kind of stopped me from being that crazy scientist. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense to you at all, but
Makes sense.
I have made tiny little inventions, just silly ones that, you know, are stupid. Like the other day, oh my gosh, my tiny SI brain memory. What are those knives called when, you know, you have everything, like all the different types of knives and
Swiss Army knife?
Swiss Army knife. Yeah, but you have it with your cell phone. So you have a cell phone, but you know, you can have like the Swiss Army knife cell phone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But my son looked it up and somebody already invented it.
Someone already had the same idea as you.
Yeah, so I keep having these inventions. And yeah, most of the time, I actually think Dave just mentioned that the other day. You know, he's like, oh, all these TIs are so shocked that somebody else has already thought of your idea.
Yeah, it's not just a TI, the NI people too. Like,
yes.
Yeah, the NI is like, I have the most brilliant idea. And then like you go to your neighbor who's also an NI, has the same idea as you.
Same idea.
You're not that brilliant. you're just like all your other types.
I know.
But the crazy thing is you could be unique still if you work on your fourth animal and your fourth demon function. So that is like that is just like someone asked a question I think recently. So can I just do my saviors all day? Yeah, but you're competing with everyone else who wants to do their saviors all day. So if you want to stand out and be unique, then you be that person that do the fourth one, and then no one can stop you then, because then no one wants to do it, right? You know, like, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do the work. And for me, right now, I'm doing the work means finishing my book, and I have to do. I'm halfway done. So
yeah, and then you need to make the cover cool, because the FE, right? So like, you know, yeah. But no, it's like this conversation we're having is very interesting because it made me think now. I'm like, oh my God. So your type, the INTP, as long as your other function cousins like you know, ENTP, ISFJ, and ESFJ, you guys are technically, this doesn't matter what the order is, you're all inventors essentially because of that ST inside, right? You're not the scientist, you're an inventor, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're really an inventor because you want to produce something in real life, like inside at least, the inner desire at least. You know, through experiments. Just like then if you look at the other type, like the ISTP, for example, ISTP, ESTP, ENFJ, and INFJ, then those guys, because they're NT inside, they're the real scientists, you know, and because they yeah, because they're the ones that has the logic of how things actually work. So even though a lot of them have high ST, they can actually create things in real life. What they really desire is having the wisdom to kind of break down how things the logic of how things work, and you know, and problem solving, you know, the methodologies essentially. And then you look at my type, the ENFP, INFP, ISTJs, and ESTJs. Then because we're SF inside, deep down inside, we're like the rock stars. We're like the the movie stars, the celebrities, like that is like essentially what the inner core desires. And then the last group would be like the ESFP, ISFP, INTJ, and ENTJ, because they're NF inside. Deep down inside, they want to be sages. They want to be like the sage, the guru, the you know, like the person you have to climb the Mount Everest
Yeah,
to
the
talk to the
mountain
top. Yeah, for the wisdom, you know, like the the enlightenment, you know, about like existential answers, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so it's like those are like the deep inner core desire of each of those types. So I wonder now if that would be a big compliment if you were to go up to someone of those type and be, hey, you know, I mean, you could just experiment. You could totally be like, you know, lying, but maybe
You can
see
test.
yeah, just experiment with people. I mean, I like to experiment with people because I'm NT, right? So my place
Yes.
NT, like I always say things that are offensive to see how people would react. Like, I'm a double decider, right? So I know I can get away with it because I can just apologize later. I'm like, oh, sorry, I was out of line, even though I knew exactly what I was doing, you know.
That's so wonderful.
It's messed up, but like
No, it's not. It's not. It's a good balance. It's a good balance for the deciders. Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's good because I'm good at figuring people out because it's play, right? So I'm so like I have a client, for example, who he flakes out from like, I don't know, if I book like 8 personal training, like 10 personal training sessions with him, he'll flake out from like 7 or 8 out of 10 of them, right?
Wow.
And
Yeah.
then, you know, he'll tell me stuff like, oh, I'm too tired, I don't feel like going, blah blah. And but I know that's all bullshit. That's all surface layer bullshit. I want to go deep and figure out why this person is not showing up to his sessions. He's overweight. He knows he needs to lose weight. So in order to lose weight, he needs to show up to his session. He knows all that. He's not stupid, right? He knows, he's aware, right? And he knows that if he wants to lose weight, he needs to eat healthy. But after all through the digging, and I use emotions as like my experimental platform of me prodding about his emotions. So I'm like, okay, so really you're trying to lose weight to appease your mom and dad. So it's not really about you losing weight because you feel bad about yourself.
Right. So it's not inside. It's not something he really, really wants. Yeah.
But I wanted to go even deeper than that. So I'm like, why do you want to please your mom and dad? So I kept asking why and why and why.
Yeah.
And the root cause, and I figured it out for this specific client of mine, was like, so this guy, he's like close to 300 pounds and he's young, he's in his like mid-20s. Was that he's Chinese from China. His English is good though, because he went to school in Canada and he grew up with like a white family, kind of like they took him as like an exchange student, and then he was forced to speak English, so now his English is good. But you know, with the Asian culture, he did not have, in the culture in China, you're like a robot. You go to school from day and night. You don't spend time with your family. You just like focus on getting good grades so that you can graduate and bring honor to your family, right? It's like, it has nothing to do with like what you desire and what makes you happy. It's about like honor. It's like it's very effy, you know, like what brings like honor and glory to your family, right? Your family's name essentially, and to your country essentially. So for him though, what he really wanted deep down inside was to spend quality time with his parents. That was literally it, you know. And he cannot have that because the culture is not there, and his parents don't want to do that, because their parents, the parents are also stuck within that framework of having to have glory for. I mean, they're already rich. They own a hospital in China and they have like so many houses and stuff. But it doesn't matter. It's not enough. The glory trap never ends, right? And so now I know the root cause of his issue is like, so when I said it to him, I'm like, so your real problem is that you're not focusing on your workout and your exercise because all you're thinking about is feeling sad that you can't spend time with your family. And until this is addressed, or at least something could take, will substitute for your immediate family, could be like friendship, obviously, then you can't do anything else. Like you can't function until this one thing has been addressed. And he looks at me and he's like, yes, you're 100%. That is exactly what it is. I'm like, well, shit, I don't even know how, what am I, like, I can't even train you then. Like what, like, because like whatever we're doing is like it's better than nothing. That's the best way for me to explain it. Like, what we're doing is better than nothing.
Nothing, but that's just gonna cover the symptoms. It's not just like we were talking before.
Yeah.
It's his exercise, it's good for him, yeah. But it's just gonna cover the symptoms with his relationship with his parents. It's not.
Yeah. So when you were doing your research with your pet, right?
Yeah.
You got the root cause, right? So for you, it's more like with the animals. That's what you're interested in figuring out. And for me, I'm interested in figuring out how people.
Yeah.
Like what's really going on here? Why are you not doing what you're supposed to do? It has nothing to do with the surface layer bullshit. There's something like deeper going on here.
That's pretty brilliant. That was really great that you were able to figure that out for him.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So. No, it's NT's magic. You could say like you could.
High five.
Yeah. We're so good. This is so smart.
Oh my God! See, yeah, that's yeah. I try to tell myself, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. Just to kind of like tell myself, I'm not that smart. I'm not that smart. And I know I'm not, but I do appreciate the information, and I appreciate, figuring things out. And I appreciate those who do as well, and, connecting with others.
Right. But there's something I want to bring up to the table now, because even so here's the really messed up thing. Like as an NT person, you might be able to relate to this. So you're sleep last like me, and you are probably keenly aware what your problem is because you figured it out already. But even if you figure it out, it doesn't mean you're doing anything to address it still. Like even if you're keenly aware what the root cause of the problem is, it's still super hard to still address the root cause, because I know all my problems and I know all the solution for it. Yet, despite all that, it's not being done to the optimal level that it should be, because for you to be able to optimally do the right thing to fix your sleep last problems, you need to sacrifice the other stuff. And there is the unwillingness to drop the sacrifice into using your NT, your play,
Yeah, it's so painful. It is so painful. Just like because it's so hard to just focus on one thing. It is so hard to just narrow it in and focus on one thing that you have to fix, or you have to complete, or you have to do, and it's like, it's so easy to get distracted by, but this is interesting, and then and I need to figure this out, and this is interesting, and I need to figure this out. I need to play off of this person before I can, well, wait a minute, no, I can actually do this myself, and I need to just focus. Yeah, that's really
the thing that I came into notice recently, and I think this is super good. So I'm an EP by default, and I have EP problems, which is I have no self-control when it comes to stuff. I did something so stupid lately that I'm so ashamed of myself. And that is like, I was playing an app game, and I spent $1,000 on a stupid app game because I wanted to win. And it was so stupid. Like, but then even though it's really dumb, and I feel like horrible doing it, it's like the worst thing I've ever done. Like, it opened up a door that I realized that needs to be addressed. And I thought, I'm like, okay, this is a $1,000 lesson, and maybe it was worth it, because like at least I know now. The lesson that I learned was that you can't do, like, working on your fourth animal and your fourth function is not sustainable unless you have an outlet for your type. And what I mean by that is, like, I'm an EP or an IP, right? So for me, I need an outlet for gathering that is sustainable and not damaging, but I still enjoy it. Because if I have an outlet for that, then I can balance out and do the correct thing, which is the SF last and the SI last. But because I during the pandemic, I actually really tried to just focus on the SI and really try to focus on the SF. And right when I'm making progress, I would self-sabotage myself and destroy whatever progress I made by gathering more and ruining things. And I realized, I'm like, no, it's not working because there's no outlet. That you are still your type. Like I'm still an EP, you're still an IP, and you need an outlet. You're supposed to do both at the same time. That's the key thing, is. But what are you doing specifically about your specific type that is destructive? Because there's a destructive outlet and there is a good outlet, right? You can have an outlet for both. Like it doesn't have to be bad for whatever your specific type's outlet. For you, your IP, you're gonna be selfish and you're gonna do your own thing, right? For me, I'm an EP, and it's like gathering obsessively, right? But what can I gather that is more positive than negative? And what can you do that's selfish, that's more positive than negative? So you can do something selfish as an IP that doesn't harm other people, and it's something you need to figure out with your NT, obviously, and use your play, obviously, to get feedback from the tribe.
Yeah.
And think to yourself, okay, what can I do to do things for yourself that's not destructive, so that you can actually freaking work on your FE and also work on your sleep, and have it like when you feel like that inner feeling bubbling up, where it's like, I need to do minded saviors now, that there is like a default automatic response to it that is not destructive, that is not bad for you, essentially. So for me, because I try to control myself so much, because I'm an EP, then I had to do IJ stuff, right? Because I was controlling myself so much, when like it's like a balloon and it bursts, and
right,
because I didn't let the air out, right? Like I needed to like
too much at once.
Yeah, exactly. So it couldn't, like, it's not healthy to also just go all in your demon, because it doesn't work. It doesn't work in reality. You can't just do it. You can't just do that. You have to balance it, right? It's like a seesaw. So for me now, I'm like, okay, even though we're both NT and I'm NT like you, and I figure out all my problems in life, how can I do it in a sustainable way where I'm doing EP stuff, and the EP stuff is contributing to the, I don't know, to the sleep last, essentially, and to the self-control. So I'm like, that's what I'm trying to figure out now for myself. And I think like now when I talk to people, because David Shan's message is like, work on your demons, right? But yeah, you're working your demons, but what about the outlet? Like, because the working on your demons by itself, it's not enough. You're not going to be able to sustain that. It's not sustainable. Like I know firsthand, because I tried.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I mean, and I think, and I've heard them say too, even if you do just a little bit a day, and then just a little bit more, and then I think they're saying like everybody has to use their SI no matter what type you are, and
Right.
and kind of plan your outlet, kind of say, okay, I'm going to do my demons for this amount of time today, and if you succeed, that's awesome. If you do a little bit more than what you planned, you're amazing, and then you can get your outlet, but it has to be reasonable. It can't, like you said, it can't just be, the 2-pound weights. Otherwise you're not gonna get very far, but you can start off with the 2-pound weights. So it doesn't mean you have to do your demons all the time. And unfortunately, it does mean that with the planning, we have to use that SI no matter what in order to plan it. But I mean, I don't know if that makes any sense.
I get what you're saying, and I get their perspective, but I feel like the advice they gave is an energy dominant advice. It doesn't apply to sleep last people, because sleep last people, like, we want to go all in whatever we're doing. Yeah. Right? We do have the energy to go in that project and make sure that we do a kick-ass job at it, right? Like, because we know exactly what we need to do. We see it, right? Like, you figured it out already with the NT. So
I think what for me is, my family around me draws me back out.
Okay.
Draws me back out into my play. I honestly, because otherwise I would be complete. It takes me, I just have to push myself in to get started, and really focus. But then I get all encompassed and sucked into my project, and I can go and go and go. And at first I was getting kind of grumpy if anybody was kind of interrupting me. And I was hoping I wasn't like the character in The Shining, kind of grumpy. But no, we're actually watching that now. But it's you know, my family, my husband, my son, even my animals, you know, just kind of like, hey, it's time to play. But then I know I need to do my consume, and I know I need to get my consume from all over the place. But I also kind of try to get a percentage of that to use for my book. And but I need all of that in order to be able to function. And I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think, yeah, my outside forces draw me out, so that I can reasonably, hopefully do everything. Sometimes they draw me out a little bit too much, you know, but that's the struggle and the balance. Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question.
Well, no, I get what you're saying. I'm just thinking if it's the correct route to take, because like, okay, for you, sleep is going to be the one that you need to work on, right?
Yeah.
And the ST part of the sleep too, like the inventions and stuff.
Like
So
to actually carry it out, to actually have the physical, because I think of different inventions all the time. Would I make the Swiss Army knife cell phone? No. You know,
okay,
I would.
I mean, okay, like if it's like, if I ask you, I mean, how many prototypes do you have? You might say I have zero. You know, like, there you go, right? Yeah, zero. Yeah, exactly. So there you go. Like, did you work in your sleep then? Your ST part? Like, no, you're not really, because like you have no prototypes, right? Like your measurement, because you do, it's still sensory, right? So there is gonna be a measurement. So your measurement is how many prototypes you have. And if you don't have any prototype, you're not even like 1%, right? So you need to you know, like that is definitely something to think about, right? So like yeah, so I mean, David Chan always says, okay, so for some people, you have to go through your function, go abuse your, you know, for you consume, and then go abuse your play, and then your blast. And for me, it's like, go use my play, go use my blast, go use my consume, and then by then I can get to the last part, which is sleep, right? But which dimension of sleep am I having trouble with? Well, it's the SF. Guess what? With the SF, you need to expend energy to do the SF stuff. You know, I need to like work out to get fit. I need to prepare the meals to eat well. So like there is gonna be like energy expenditure involved to achieve that SF. You know.
Yeah.
You know, like for you, guess what? You do have to expend energy to create the prototype. So there is energy expenditure required for you to produce that prototype. But if you spend the whole day doing your consume, your play, and your blast, what time and energy do you have left for the prototype? You know, so I don't know if that order is the right way to do it, because you have no time and energy left for the fourth thing. So that's what I'm trying to like solve right now. Is like,
well, I guess you can use your play to, if you can work with somebody else somehow, I guess, to get your SF done, or, you know.
yeah, okay. Outsourcing is one solution. Okay, that's true. That is one.
Kind of have a mentor or work with. You would do it too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's that's a good advice. I think if there someone's demon is play last, our demon is sleep last. So it's actually, we need to do it ourselves, right? So it's like it's a little bit different. So it's a good advice for those specific types, but not for us specifically with sleep last. Because like I said, the tangible result for me is, you know, have I done my hair? Am I at like certain low body fat percentage that I look good in the clothes that I wear? You know, because it's all SF, it's all physical, right? It's all about like looking cool. For you, it's, you know, how many prototypes have you created from that, all the crazy ideas you come up with, right? Like you know, because if you don't have a single prototype, then I mean, you're writing a book, so that's technically a prototype. The book is a prototype, right? So when the book is finished, then there's your first one, right? Yeah. So I guess you're doing a little bit because you're spending some time to write the book, you know. But yeah, it's a tough question for sure to answer.
It is a really tough question, and especially since it's all just thinking in, you know, that these are my demons, and actually just really for the first time, you know, just immensely appreciating the impact of the animals. You know, I was like, oh yeah, the animals, but wow, they really, really, really have an effect a lot more than I guess I spent the time to really let sink in. And I definitely have to do some sleep processing on that. You know, no, but yeah, I think the reason I think I'm stumbling over these answers is because it's just the biggest demon, and it's such a hard thing to even comprehend. It's almost like, I can't even grab onto it. It's kind of, which is funny because it needs to be the most tangible, but it's kind of just pooping into the air, so
you know what?
You need to figure out.
You know what? I think I have an idea of how to get to the next step at least. So we both have SI, and I feel like with SI, what we need to do is have everything on paper, like write down every single freaking thing that you're doing in a day. Do like what's the word I'm looking for? Like an audit, like a weekly and monthly audit, and like just have it all on paper. Just like have an audit of like exactly what you're doing, when you're doing it, why you're doing it, and just like have like a super audit, right? Because you're an IPEP, right? So you're gonna have like self-discipline issues as well. And like, yeah. So it's like you need to like have like a super audit, and once you have like a super audit, then you can look at it and you can be like, oh my god, so I'm doing this because of this reason, and I'm like, can I do it less, like 50%, and give it to this guy? And then you have to be as realistic as possible too, right? Like give yourself more time to do something. Like for example, like for me, I'm sleep last, so I try to like make my schedule as tight as possible so I can finish more. But it's so dumb. It's like it's not really smart, because it sounds smart from a. If I was a real robot with a real battery, then okay, yeah, I can do it. But I'm not. I'm a human, right? So, and like it's not real. Like that's not how. It's not sustainable.
Right.
Right. So I think the only thing I can think of is like number one, do like SI step by step now. Number one, do like a super audit. I'm gonna do it after our interview. Actually, I'm thinking about it. Like do a super audit of like every single thing that you do and why you're doing it, and like pick up all the stuff that is like causing you some issues, and then think, okay, not to eliminate it, because I feel like as humans we still need to do stupid things that purposely sabotage us. We still need to have vices is what I'm trying to say. So the answer is not to eliminate it, but to like live with it, essentially, and then from there, the next thing I was thinking about is like, okay, how can I schedule in things that I need to do, but give it like tons of time? So if I need to procrastinate or, like, David Goggins. I don't know if you know David Goggins, but like they type him as an ESFP, and he set a record for the most pull-ups, and he was a Navy SEAL, and he wrote a book actually called Can't Hurt Me. It's an amazing book, like a real amazing book. It's really dark. Like you like dark stuff, right? So I think you'll like that book.
Okay. That name sounds familiar. I'm so bad with names. So, but yeah.
But anyways, so I mean, I think he's the best example of someone that like lives with his demon and like completely accepts that the demon is part of the process. Because he's like EP, he hates discipline, and he's the most disciplined person in the world now, right? He'll say things like, I know I need to go for a run, and I know I'm gonna fucking hate it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sit here and look at my shoelace for 30 minutes. And then like I'm still gonna do it, but if I need 30 minutes or an hour to look at my shoelace, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go sit there and look at my shoelace. So it's like scheduling in also like the BS self, like inner resistance.
Here's my schedule. I love it.
Like hour one, fending off inner bullshit resistance. Hour two, still fighting off inner bullshit resistance. Hour three, get 15 minutes of work done that you should have.
That could be a poem. Yeah.
What's that?
That could be a poem.
Yeah, it could. No, but like, because when you start doing something that you hate,
yes,
eventually you can do a little bit more later on. Like it does expand, like your capacity for it, your stamina, your endurance. So maybe something that like maybe you'll get like 15 minutes of work done towards that thing that you're trying to resist.
Yes.
maybe it'll take you 6 hours to do 15 minutes of work, but later on it'll take you like 30 minutes. So, but you need to schedule a big chunk, you know?
It's, yeah. I think, you know, doing the SI, you know, the
Audit.
you know, the IJ kind of things has always been very difficult for me, the audit. So yes, especially when focusing on myself. So yeah, that would be a great goal. Even just to get the audit done.
Yeah, even if you, yeah, just to get it on paper, right? Yeah, because then you write the SI and then you use your TI. It's like, why did I do this? Why did so you question every single thing that all the steps you're doing, right? It's like why?
So yeah.
Like for me, it's FI. So for me, it's FI. It's not like TI. So it's not like why. It's like it's more like, did I feel good doing this? Did I feel good doing this? Did I feel good doing this? You know, and I have to be like honest with myself, right? I'm like, I feel horrible doing all this. Why did I do this? You know, no. So for you, it's TI. It's like, why did I do this? It's not, that doesn't logically make sense. What, you know? So yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Cool. Looks like we figured something out during this. Like,
no, that was for sure. It's a wonderful solution. It's like, it's kind of like, okay. But
yeah, no,
that means I know that I need to get it done. You know what I mean?
Well, I feel dread now. Like I have to do it, but I'm gonna do it right after we finish this because I'm like, okay, if I don't do it after I do this, I'm probably gonna put it off, and you know that's counterproductive. You know, like
yes.
So.
Wow, that's it's a lot. Okay, I'm gonna do it an hour from now.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do something fun and then I'm gonna do it.
You'll do consume sleep. You can do consume play blast first, right?
No, but this was super fun though.
Yeah.
Talking with you. So I guess this counts as something fun.
Yeah, okay. I guess so. All right, Sasha, we'll wrap up the interview from here. I enjoyed that brainstorming session at the end.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's wonderful.
All right, enjoy the rest of your day and yeah, take care.
Okay, bye.